This episode is brought to you by Vintage Media Grading at vmgvinyl.com. Explore how professional grading can protect your records at vmgvinyl.com. And now, on with the show.
Well, hello everyone, it's Nate. Welcome to episode 402 of The Vinyl Guide, the podcast for record collectors and music nerds. And this week we welcome back to the show our dear friend, Bear McKinnon, and he's bringing a buddy of his, Danny Heifetz, both currently of the band Umlaut and both formerly of Mr Bungle. And the three of us today dive deep into the vinyl and recordings of both of those bands. Now, before we get very far, I suggest each of you write this down or go directly to the URL umlautbearmckinnon.bandcamp.com. There's a link in the episode page, and check out their new track, Every Time. There's two versions, the radio and the album version, and at a minimum, follow that page on Bandcamp so you're updated the moment that new tracks or Umlaut products become available. Check out the new track Every Time, and great news, the Umlaut team have recently found some additional copies of the 2019 Arun Chala Easter Bear limited edition 7-inch vinyl. It's the only thing on the Umlaut Bandcamp site that isn't sold out, so get over there quick, umlautbearmckinnon.bandcamp.com, before that's sold out too. And I gotta let you know, there is a mega super extended version of this interview available only to show patrons at patreon.com/vinylguide. A full extra hour of conversation, bungle talk, rare recordings, and more just for podcast supporters. We absolutely love every listener to our show, but at patreon.com/vinylguide, we slip our supporters some tongue in the form of extra long interviews, commercial-free episodes, high-resolution audio files, and the occasional video and giveaway. So this week, we're sharing a full 2-hour conversation with Danny and Bear. It's a conversation Bungle and music fans will not want to miss. Lots of fun, lots of facts. Patreon.com/vinylguide. Head over there now and enjoy a full extra hour of our chit chat. And just one final note, there are over 400 other episodes of the Vinyl Guide podcast available to enjoy anytime. Interviews with the likes of Homer Flynn talking rare records of the Residents, episode 401, podcast pioneer and record nerd Mark Maron, episode 400, Jay Mascis of Dinosaur Jr., episode 393, Kid Congo Powers of the Cramps and the Gun Club, episode 391, Perry Farrell and Eric Avery of Jane's Addiction, episode 387, and lots more. Follow the Vinyl Guide in your podcast app, scroll, download, listen, and enjoy. And with the upfronts done, let's get into our conversation with Mr. Bear McKinnon and Danny Heifetz on the memories and rare recordings of Mr. Bungle and Umlaut.
Hey.
Hello.
Hey, Bear, can you hear me?
Yeah.
So Danny, are you in Melbourne now? You were Sydney for a
so
while.
I'm in Melbourne. Yeah, I was in Sydney. I mean, moved there in 2002. Bear, you've been in Melbourne since 2000 or something ridiculous like that.
Yeah,
the whole time.
No, it was around 2002. It was like the end of 2002. I think we got here, or towards the second half. Yeah.
And you guys, you didn't plan to move to Australia together or any way like that. It just happened coincidentally. You guys just relocated here.
It was lady affected. Mm-hmm. Yes, we both were here. We were drawn here by our partners at the times.
We were catfished by a Nigerian man who was like posing as an Australian woman, and next thing you know, we are.
Well, that's how I got here. Not the Nigerian man, of course, but chasing a woman. And it's
and she just was too far ahead of you. Like, I'm exhausted. Like, wait, where am I? Oh no!
You wake up in an airport.
Ran all the way across the ocean.
Yeah. Do I have both my kidneys? One of the things about Bungle is not a collectible record, but there is a really collectible bubble bath soap that was put out as a promotion for Mr. Bungle. Do you guys remember this?
Yes.
Yeah. Do you remember the story behind it?
I don't remember what the original color was, but I remember kind of finding one when I was packing my stuff up. You know, it was only probably 10 years old at the time, and it was a weird color. It's like, that can't be its original color. No, it was too was like Rust, you know.
Yeah, I think they've all gone to orange now, something like that.
Yeah, the label is orange, right? I think it's just in a little like one of those travel shampoo kind of bottles, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I remember that. I think I had to store them at my house for a while.
All the
yeah, that was
BPAs,
what a weird. Why did we do that?
are fully leached into that. Yeah.
Oh no, we were very BPA conscious at the time. I'm sure that's why we did it, just to promote that, because we were so. That was our. I mean, I wish we'd been conscious of that, but I'm sure we weren't. Yeah, that's funny that was a thing. Bear, do you have any memory of why we did that?
Not really. It's,
usually there was a reason to do something. I don't know why we would have done that. Maybe there's some song that had a reference to soap.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I couldn't.
Cleaning?
I'm not sure.
Don't be a Mr. Bungle. Wash behind your ears. Maybe some dumb
Yeah,
reference. I have a feeling it was the label did it.
Oh, so
Doesn't
probably.
Like
let me take a guess. Mr. Bungle, Mr. Bubble. And then there's kind of maybe that whole thing. Maybe
Jesus
that's
Christ. I never even considered that. Oh,
it just came to me now.
Things.
I don't know.
No, that's probably exactly it. I'm just like trying to think really deeply about what it could mean. It's like, oh no, duh. There you go. That was it. Let's just say that's it, because that probably is it.
Yeah, my brain was like something about the idea of like we're dirty boys, so you need to get clean or something. I don't know. But
there was a
that
reference
doesn't
to
sound
like Mr. Bungle to the original Pee-wee thing that he was a filthy little turd.
So both you guys joined Bungle around the same time, is that right?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think it was exactly the same time.
Really?
Wasn't it? Maybe I beat you by a month or something, but it was 89.
It was I feel like it was late 88. It was late 88 or something for me.
Then you beat me to it. Because I wasn't even back in Humboldt until I was on the East Coast till January 89. So there you go. You beat me.
That's insane. Oh,
that's time for me to go. Weird. Bye.
That doesn't make any sense. That's strange.
I remember us joining at the same time, because it had definitely been a pretty solid thing with those three. Theo was a solid member before we got in.
Right.
So he was really more a real member of Bungle than either of us were for a while. He was legit, man.
That's right. Yeah.
OG.
But it was
because he was on it during the Waging Waff of the Easter Bunny. Because isn't he on that?
That's
Doesn't
right.
he play on?
I feel like he does something. Yeah, he did something with that, and then was definitely Balish Island kind of the era.
Obviously. Yeah, and all through that stuff.
Yeah, he would have known them. He would have been peripheral.
He went to school with them, and do you know? I'm not sure, Nate. Well, I'm not going to go into it because I don't really know, but like how basically Bungle was the two bands, Trey and God, help me out, Bear.
Was it
embarrassing drummer
you
forgetting
mean Trevor's?
Well, Trevor and Mike were in their thing, and then Trey and oh God, I'm old and stupid.
Jed,
Jed Watts. So Trey, there, thank you, you saved me. Trey and Jed were in a band, so that's how Bungle really kind of formed. Those two bands of two each became Bungle.
Okay,
yeah. But
and they did the various cassettes: Raging Wrath, Bowel of Chili, God Damn It, I Love America. Most of the songs on the debut, or a lot of the songs on the debut, were on the OU818 demo tape. The demo tape is pretty much kind of a precursor to the album, but there seems to be some outtakes that never made it to, or that weren't officially released. I think Thunderball, Mr. Nice Guy, a couple others.
Dear.
Yeah. Do you know what do you know the status of any of those? Are there recordings of those? Were they tracked in the studio at all?
Mr. Nice Guy, I don't know if we actually re-recorded that. Do you remember doing that, Bear? Did we do that?
We re-recorded that. No, I don't know.
I kind of, my memory of that is that it's a great song. I don't really know about the lyrics, but musically, it's a great song. And it's probably in a way it's like one of the best. Yeah, it's a really fun live song. It was one of the best recordings on that demo. I'm not really sure why we didn't do that one. I mean, part of it was we didn't have enough time, like without doing a double album.
It didn't make any sense. I was always like, this song kills live. I don't know why.
Yeah. It seemed like it should have been on there, right?
Yeah.
And it's not like, oh, the lyrics are a little bit harsh. Like, oh, but the other ones, it's girls of porn. Yeah, that's fine.
Pass.
Jeez.
Did you guys have was there like a tremendous amount of songs, extra ones that you sifted through, and or just a couple of extras?
Not early on. just a couple.
Okay.
I remember
Really.
so Thunderball was part of that original, like that the debut album recording, like the different first sessions. That was part of that. I remember, because it came down to the boom, 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 the horn part. Like, I can't remember. I even tried doing it because we had a trombone, but I was like, I can't play trombone. I can kind of play trumpet. I think me and Trey both tried. I don't know if there's any versions of this anywhere. We both tried it, but with a trumpet mouthpiece, and it was just like, did we actually think that was going to work? And then we had Matt Merman. Was that his name? Matt Merman, the assistant engineer. Yeah. He did it. He played trombone. He actually did a pass on it, and then Theo ended up doing a pass on it. Like, we spent a lot of time. The song was fine. I think even Mike did a scratch vocal to it. There's a version of it somewhere, isn't it? Like on YouTube somewhere.
Yeah, there's some raw demos of that, and
I mean, that maybe it's because that's all we ever did. I don't think we ever mixed it. But it's a shame because it was like everything except for the horn part and a proper vocal part. Maybe, I don't know if Trey ever did a proper guitar part for it, but such a good song. Oh my God.
There seem to be some outtakes for Disco Volante. I'm sure you know the Disco Volante, the era Improv at the Bomb Factory, that recording.
The thing that was we were just talking about, is that the NFT thing?
The NFT thing, right? And there's a couple of lathe recordings. Were you guys aware of that at all?
Well, that was us. No, that was just at our rehearsal place. We recorded rehearsals a lot.
Right.
That was not a rehearsal. That was just a jam.
Mm-hmm.
But it's the way we did it that made it kind of, I guess, a little bit different than most. I mean, it's probably all described somewhere. I'm sure Trey or Trevor described is probably for that. But it was at Mike's place where we rehearsed, sort of a garage space, but it had an actual control room in it. Proper, soundproof, big window control room. Trey was in there doing all the sampler stuff while we were playing and live mixing things and doing all the tweaking, which is why it's like, that's not live. It's like, it was, because Trey was live tweaking and mixing things while me, Trevor, and Mike were in the room just with like random instruments. I think I was at the drums, maybe. I think I had either a banjo or a trumpet. I had a banjo and a melodica, I think. Trey, everybody had a keyboard, and, Mike, I think, had the trumpet. It was just goofy, which is, I'm really, thank you to whoever bought that, but why?
It's quite entertaining. It's on YouTube.
Well, so I fucking love it. I think it's hilarious because I was there and it was like, God, this is so funny, because it was really fun doing that. That's when Bungle was like, to me, we couldn't perform that really, but doing that kind of stuff. I mean, you can hear us kind of laughing. It's because it was actually really funny doing that stuff. Part of it is just like, we're all trying to kind of crack each other up half the time, on things like that. Not always. But I sort of love that part of it. But at the same, I was like, why would anybody else like this in any way? I mean, if you're there, it's funny. Sort of like a typical improv show. Like, if you're part of it, if you're playing, this is great, but people in the audience, like, they're going to get about 4 or 5 minutes of value out of this.
Yeah, well, it depends. I mean, some people have more patience than others. I listen to a lot of Zappa, so like hearing that, I've got mounds of patience for something that.
That's what it requires. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, there was a lot of that. I mean, even that stuff. Barry probably knows better than I do. What's the stuff? Like some of that stuff. Remember the chicken? What was it called? Not the Chicken Shack. The
Chicken Coop.
Chicken Coop. Thanks. Where we rehearsed.
Yeah.
But sort of between Arcade and Eureka. That's just where that was like our rehearsal place. And there's stuff that happened there that ended up on that first album. Like, Dead Goon, I think, is the one that was mostly taken off of a recorded rehearsal where we were just making stuff up. It's like, let's turn that into a song at the studio. So that's, some of it is totally improvised, but some of it's based on an improvised rehearsal that we did. So that whole take of Dead Goon is kind of
Danny wrote that famous bass line, actually. That impossible kind of bass line.
But that was
kind of like.
Yeah, but that's obviously not like, that wasn't at the rehearsal though. That's what I mean. Like, that song is a pretty interesting combination of ideas taken from an improvised rehearsal and then learned, and some of it is improvised, and then other things are like this bass part that I wrote with 2 fingers on a piano. And Trevor went, I'm going to learn how to play that on a bass, even though it's impossible. And now he hates me for it because it's all anybody ever asks him about. It's like, oh my God, he's like, that guy can play anything, and all anybody asks him about is like, come on, man. It's the dumbest part, but the problem is it's like, it's only amazing because it was written on 2 fingers on a piano.
Yeah.
He figured out how to play this insane thing on a bass, which makes no sense on a bass, and he fucking nailed it.
Now, there's also that other end of the spectrum, well, maybe it's part of the same end of the spectrum, is all the covers. There seem to be a lot of cover songs that were only performed live once or twice. What was actually, were the set lists pretty concrete, or did they vary from night to night?
I remember there being a lot of time spent writing them. I didn't often have much to do with it, unless it was a sort of thing like equipment wise. If it was hard, Trevor he was sort of like always the set list, composer, because it sometimes took that.
And they did change, but there were like
we sort of stuck to them, right? Like it was a hard thing, mostly because of things like technical things, like your side of the stage, especially later when there was samplers and all the stuff involved. We had to load stuff. It wouldn't have been possible. I was like, hey, let's just do this one now. It's like, oh, okay, well, hold on, we got to load it, or you got to change instruments or retune.
Right.
So there's usually, if there was a set list written, it might have been totally different from the night before, or the only time we've ever done some of those songs. But
so this is before hard drives. So you actually had to load things in on disc on stage.
Bear would know that. I didn't have anything to do with that stuff. I don't even know how to spell MIDI.
And even there, Trey was the evil genius behind all that.
Mm-hmm. Would you guys decide to do a cover, like grab some song, learn it that day, and play it that evening, and then that's kind of a one and done sort of thing, or no?
Oh, maybe if it was like a Britney Spears or In Excess song, yeah. But most of the time, it was something that was more of a cinematic or soundtrack sort of thing that meant let's do a rock version of this. There was this sort of respect thing. I don't know if it was respect or just let's make things really hard on ourselves and make this sound exactly like the original, because that's usually what we would do. Even songs like well, no, I won't get into specific examples, but there's certain ones that most of the times we did a cover, it seems like we would always try to do it pretty authentic. Even like the one you played drums on, Loverboy, that Bear played drums on. What was that song? Working for the Weekend?
Working for the Weekend.
Which you played that one. That was like kind of a regular one, right?
It was very straight. Then we also did like the Van Halen dirty movies or whatever. So
we did some just really dumb, good but dumb rock songs.
Right.
And then we do, I don't even know. I'm terrible. I don't even know the actual name of most of the more cinematic, like the soundtrack stuff that we did. It was usually just, we had songs on the set list that were like Morricone, Mukherjee. We would have like the composer, instead of like the actual title of the tune. But our set list, I still have trouble with actual album, proper titles, because we always had working titles. Like Ars Moriendi, which I finally know now. That's just, to me, was, until maybe 10 years ago, it was like Gypsy. That's just Gypsy, because that's what it was called. That was like a lot of bands are like that. They just know the working title until it gets a real one.
It seems like once Disco Volante came out, the live sets rarely included songs from the first album. I mean, correct me if I'm getting this wrong. Maybe My Ass Is on Fire, but yeah,
Travolta probably.
Why was it seemed like there was an abandonment of that first album after a while?
I know the answer to that. Do you know, Bear? I'm curious. I kind of want to hear your answer, because I kind of have one for that.
Oh, I don't know.
I had my first legitimate answer of the entire interview, but you go ahead.
You go. No, I would just say that it's like it sort of falls under the umbrella of like people got bored easily, or it was like a thing of like whether it was getting yelled at us. If it was getting yelled at us during the gig, like Girls of Porn, like people were they so needed to hear that song, and it was just like, nope. It was just like this kind of like, we're gonna fuck with you, and you're not gonna get to hear that one tonight. I don't even know why. Yeah, but I don't know. Maybe Danny's answer will be better.
Did my little emoji show up?
Yeah. I think
I just realized I could have been doing
correct.
This. Right? Why don't we just answer with just emojis? No, that's certainly everything you said is true. I do think, I mean, yeah, part of it was just, that idea of being, don't forget, like for me and Bear was not quite the same because we'd only been in the band for a few years at that point, but those guys had known those songs for a couple years longer, which is also why I think that those songs weren't like, we didn't start them, like they'd already been kind of worked. So they I think just wanted like, let's move on. You know, part of it is that's not us anymore. We've evolved, partly that, but then again, we're playing My Ass on Fire, we're playing Travolta, maybe one or two other ones. But even on the first tour, I don't know if you remember this, Bear. I remember we started playing, I think it was Girls of Porn. We started it really like obnoxiously slow. And then this sped it up the entire way. So it was obnoxiously fast by the end. So we were already, I think that was on the first. Do you remember if that was the first tour? If we did that on Disco Volante? I feel like that would have been the first tour. Recall. But it makes me think that, oh my God, we were already sick of these songs like 10 shows in. We've only ever played these songs 10 times. We're already sick of them and already changing them, you know. We had a very short attention span with that.
And and then also like by the time we got to recording that first album for Warner Brothers, it was like, because we'd already done the demo, and it was like, and I, I dare say some of the energy from the demo had, was a little bit better than by the time we were doing the album, the first album. Stuff was getting a little long in the tooth, I think. And so, by the time we'd gone out and toured that first album, it was probably like, there would have been a fatigue, I think, with the song.
That's true. Actually, I guess we did. Yeah. I'm thinking we only did that tour. Of course, we played a lot of single shows.
We were playing those songs.
Tiny show. Yeah, we probably played like 30 or 40 gigs before that, which is not much by most band standards, but for us, it was seemed like a lot.
We played a lot of those songs live, way before the first album came out. And then it was just like, well, we got to record these for the first album.
So you had outtakes for the first album. There's obviously some outtakes for Disco Volante. Was there like a full demo done of Disco Volante, or was it mainly constructed in the studio?
Not a. I don't think you mean like OU818
test run. Yeah, exactly.
I don't think so. We did a lot of like ADAT recordings, which is what we were using at Mike's studio. We would have done a lot of like test, rehearsal recordings. So, but not like we never like did a whole thing of all of it. Like, okay, here's the demo. Let's just send to the label.
Right.
Which, because we knew they, wouldn't care, or there was no point in sending anything, because all they would do they wouldn't approve any of it. The only thing that might happen is they'd knock it back.
Was there like zero chance that they were going to knock the album back?
Well, we were under contract and we kind of had to stay that way. It was purely because Mike was in the Warner's family, and it was the safest place for them to put us because we were just in the parent label. And it was easy. They didn't have to do much for us. They weren't terrible with us, but and honestly, we had no business being there anyway. So
yeah,
it was nice that they at least, did something. But it made it easy for us on touring decisions to say, let's just do this all on our own and not involve the label, which later on is the only way we ever made any money, just because we did all ourselves and didn't rely on tour support, that sort of stuff. But they're incredibly generous with their advances. So I certainly can't complain about anything.
But Disco Volante just seems like it's such a unique, a shooting star. It could only happen kind of once under those sort of circumstances. And I always thought, how did these guys get this through without someone saying, "Well, wait a minute, there's
got to be one guy, right?" No, who that's partly who a lot of the credit for that goes to David Katz Nelson, who was our A&R guy by that point. And like, no offense, David, and he probably knows this a little bit, but like, what the hell was he doing at Warner Brothers? He was way too good for that, right? But he also is the reason why I think a big reason why the Flaming Lips did as well as they did, at least from that, label side of it. I think he was their guy as well. No, he was amazing. I mean, he did Othar Turner. Do you know that album that he did? I forget, something, not Dangerbird. Maybe it is Dangerbird, but he had his own little label. Do you know the Othar Turner recordings? Oh my God. It's amazing. He just went and met these guys. I think it's in Mississippi, might be Alabama, but the Deep South. And it's just all drum and fife stuff, like old music, and these guys traditionally playing this stuff.
That's right.
You would have heard that. Right. And it's actually used a little bit. And I think it's because of Katz Nelson. I mean, the music's been around for literally 150 years, maybe longer. but that some of that music actually got used in Gangs of New York, I think it was, in that film.
Whoa. Yeah.
And I think that Katznelson might have had something to do with that getting there.
Yeah, that was with the Ralph Carney. Ralph Carney put a record out with that as well, right?
Oh, cool.
Was it Birdman or something?
Maybe it's Bird. Yeah, it's Bird something. Maybe it is Birdman. I think it is Birdman. But no, the Katznelson is a huge. I mean, really, he was we're lucky to have somebody like that. Mm-hmm. There.
Was he there through California?
God, I don't even remember. So I got stuck managing the band through most of Disco Volante because Kristen quit, as we kind of termed it. She discovered boys that year. That is it. She suddenly was like, and she just kind of lost interest, and we didn't know that had happened because sort of like suddenly nothing's happening. Suddenly our manager's not doing every single thing right. It's because she kind of just, it's almost like she just kind of just stopped doing her job. And she did kind of quit in a way, and we just needed somebody. So I was like, well, I can do it. I guess I'll try to do what I can. I'm terrible at it, me, band manager. Yeah, that's a great idea.
So Kristen Yee quiet quits. You have to then kind of pick up the ball for the promotion of Disco Volante.
All of the artwork, all of the organizing of the artwork, all of the artwork that they wouldn't approve without. Oh my God, I mean, whatever. Maybe I did a good job on part of it, but most of it, I was totally out of my league.
On Disco Volante, there's a hidden groove on the record with the secret song on a different groove.
Featuring Danny Heifetz on drums. Oh, wait. No, I didn't play on that one. Bear, do you remember who played drums on that track? I wonder if you remember who played drums. Some guy that used to have a snake around his neck at the beginning of this interview. Bear plays drums on that, just in case you didn't know.
Ah.
Yeah, I'm not on that track because it was a secret song.
That's why he doesn't want to talk about it now. No.
Yeah, that was an amazing feat. Have you seen the conversation, the mastering conversation about that? The gentleman that actually
you would have seen that, Nate, right? You would have seen that video recently of what's his name?
Not Slussman.
Grun.
Bernie Drummond?
Yeah.
Have you seen that?
Did you see?
I have not.
Right. Jot it down. There's a fantastic thing that. Who did Angus find that or somebody?
Yeah, it was sort of making the rounds on social media a little bit.
So it's from like a year. It's a recent discussion. It's just him, in like a room of 15 or 16, mastering, like a master class kind of thing about mastering. And at one point, it's a long thing, but at one point somebody asked him like, what was the weirdest thing you ever did or something like that. And he refers to that actual job. Okay. And I was the manager. I was the one having to deal with that at the time. So I was the one talking to him every day and to his office, and he'd be sending me the masters, from LA to San Francisco, like FedExing them every day. And I'd put them on my turntable, which I had when I did. And I'd listen to every one. And I'd try it. It's like, doesn't work. And I'd be like, sorry, got to do it again. I just can't play because I have a stack. That's some of the stuff I have in my record collection. I have all those test printings with those yellow plastic separators. I guess the thing they packed them in. So I have a bunch of that stuff, like a bunch of those masters of the ones that didn't quite work, which I think and he knew it. He said, do this because he was telling me how to do it. It's like, you're going to have to pick it up. And he was just sending them to me.
You have to kind of hop around to try to.
It was right at the. I mean, it was within 2 or 3 grooves of that second track or third track, whichever it was. So it wasn't like just anywhere. It was definitely, obviously, but yeah, it'd be like in that specific groove. But sometimes I think there was a couple where it would do that, but I forget how they would fail. Like it would slip back into the, I think it's Mishka. I forget which song it's in. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's weird. I don't remember really how it happened. I just remember thinking like, please don't make me have to reject this. Like, this is not why I took this job. I don't want to be the fucking, I'm the drummer. I shouldn't be having to tell this top, the best mastering guy in the world how to do his job. He doesn't talk about that part of it, but it's kind of cool how he talks about that. It's a great little reference.
We'll
make sure you get a hold of it, Nate. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, I'm going to Google it tonight. I'd love to hear that. Bernie's actually been on the show before, but I didn't realize he was the guy that was actually doing that. And that's a near impossible task because you have to master the first song, the first side. And then during that part, you have to spread the grooves out just enough to get that other one in there at a later time.
You'll love it because he goes into detail about how he does it. It's fantastic.
Yeah,
and I think it's if it's an hour YouTube thing, it's around the 40-minute mark. So it's a ways in, right? But there might be notes about it.
Oh, okay. So you had to deal with all that.
I actually started listening from the beginning. It's like I'm gonna listen to a bit and then I'll skip to it, and I realized like I'm 20 minutes in, like, whoa, I have not lost interest for 1 second with this guy. Like, but it's like, shit, I actually kind of now need to go. So I'm going to fast forward. But it's like the whole thing is great anyway.
I'll put that link in this episode page. People can click and go to it.
Yeah.
If they really want to check it out. Okay. All right. Are there any other Easter eggs that are in Disco Volante or any other Mr. Bungle vinyl that you're aware of?
We'll be back after these messages.
There's no doubt about it. Record collecting has become a serious hobby and even an investment for many around the world. So record collectors have to ask themselves how best to protect their prized records and confidently buy and sell with others. There is an option to consider: vintage media grading at vmgvinyl.com. vmgvinyl.com will professionally grade your record and encase it in protective plastic, so your record will retain its value for decades to come. This is the same approach that comic book and sports card collectors have done for years. Now, I know many record collectors will be horrified with the thought of having their records graded and encased in plastic. And for the majority of records, this isn't necessary. But if you have top dollar records that you need to protect, maybe a super rare album that's languishing on the shelf, a one-off misprint, or a special LP that you want to protect, look up vmgvinyl.com, Vintage Media Grading, and see if this service is right for you. That's Vintage Media Grading, vmgvinyl.com.
Hey everyone, I'm here to talk to you about Seems Easy record sleeve repair strips. Ever find a record in a used bin where the vinyl is gorgeous, but the sleeve has this ugly split and is even falling completely apart? Well, that's okay. Grab it anyway, because with Seems Easy record sleeve repair strips, you can fix that right up. Seems Easy record repair strips repair seam splits from the inside, so it doesn't affect the appearance of a record sleeve, but it does make it functional again. With Seems Easy, records can now slide in and out like new. Turn a $5 record into a $25 functioning collectible. Just ask your local record shop for Seems Easy strips, and if they're not in stock, go to SeemsEasy.com. That's Seems Easy with 2 Z's. Seems Easy record sleeve repair strips. Seems easy because it is. Oh, and hey, record nerds, don't forget to clean your records with the very best and safest record cleaner, the Groove Washer. Make your records look and sound their very best and store them with confidence using the new Groove Washer Groove Guard record sleeves. You gotta try this out. It makes a huge difference to the quality of your vinyl experience. Ask for the Groove Washer by name at your local record store and accept no substitutes. Or head over to groovewasher.com and use discount code VINYLGUIDE10.
All hail the Groove Washer.
That's groovewasher.com, discount code VINYLGUIDE10.
Now we return to the program, already in progress.
No limits.
Are there any other Easter eggs that are in Disco Volante or any other Mr. Bungle vinyl that you're aware of?
The only thing I can think vinyl-wise with Disco Volante is the fact that, well, the original one, I don't know if... well, there was a couple sort of so-called pirate versions of it, right? 10 or 15 years later. But did a reissue of that actually come out kind of recently?
I don't think so. I think there was one from Plain Recordings.
Okay.
That came out, but it did have the 45. Well, actually, no, they did.
That's
have
what
the
I was
45.
wondering about.
Yeah.
Oh, they did. All right. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
they
that's
had a
the
green
thing I wondered
45.
about. Wow. And that was Platypus and Secret Chief's recording.
Yes.
Which only me and Ray would find a positive thing. I'm sure there's at least a couple people in the band that were not happy about that. You probably know this, but do you know the reason why that 7-inch was included? It's a technical thing, really.
So the length of the album wouldn't permit all the songs, so they had to make an auxiliary record to finish it up.
Yeah. I can't remember now if it was even an option. I do know that if it was an option, it would have been like, you're going to lose a lot of quality if you squish this
fidelity.
on there.
Well, that secret song probably cost a bit.
Cost
of that
a few.
time as well.
Yeah, exactly. But I think because Platypus was such a long song, it was just so, we had to put it somewhere. And it was, I think, a 7-minute song, and it couldn't, like, oh, well, just let's just squeeze another 7 minutes in there. And all the songs are fairly long anyway. So
yeah,
it was really hard to cut anything, basically.
As the then manager, you made that call to say, oh, well, let's not cut a song. Let's add a 7-inch to it.
No, I probably had a little bit to do with that, but that was definitely more the other guys, like, because know, well, Trevor too, because it's his song. Mm-hmm. I do know we all would have been like, it would have been a mistake to not have that song anywhere. Yeah, that was a band decision, but it was, I can't actually remember having to fight very hard for that, but it was more like probably more like with Bernie, or maybe even before that, but kind of making decisions about, okay, well, priorities, how are we going to do this?
Yeah.
And what
that's one of the considerations when you find a Disco Volante, to look for that 7-inch. And if it's, you got to make sure the package is complete.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, that's true. Because there's probably a lot of the reissues or whatever or reprints that didn't have that in there.
Yeah. Or you'll find the single orphaned somewhere.
Really?
It's like, oh,
wow.
Yeah. Some people, they just get separated somehow. So going into California, were there outtakes from the California sessions as well? I'm unaware of any outtakes.
By outtakes, you also mean there's just stuff that just didn't make it on the album?
Yeah.
Like not just jokey stuff, but songs that should have made it but just didn't.
That were tracked, or
whenever I think outtakes, I think bloopers. I don't even necessarily think of like my version of outtakes is, oh, that's funny. Do you remember, Bear? If they were, oh well, duh. Wait, we've skipped on like a serious thing here, and Bear's not chiming up about it. Hello,
is it the?
Well, no, like with Disco Volante. Duh, Cold Sore. Like, I mean, the thing that we just, I just played it with this guy 10 days ago.
Right.
Yeah, like Bear, this incredible song Cold Sore, that was a song that got cut. I guess it never got finished, but Bear probably knows the answer more to me than that about why.
It was just
that was definitely a victim of that got cut. And you had another song. Spy. There was, what was the other one? Soap.
Soap.
Something soap. Didn't you have a song like soap? I don't know. I feel like, but now I realize, there were other songs from the Disco Volante era that.
Well, there was Spy also, right? Was that?
And Spy.
Was that from the?
No, that was from the
disco era. Yeah.
Yeah. So like that question you asked about, about the Thunderball thing from the first album. So yeah, Spy and Cold Sore would be the main two, which are, I'm sure, same thing, probably out there somewhere on YouTube. But Spy was like a. Do you remember the name of the movie? Bear, the French film. I'm forgetting what that was called. But yeah, like a dedication, like all these little samples actually from that movie. And that was long, and that was definitely just a bunch of sounds and soundscape stuff pieced together and little storylines here and there. Whereas Cold Sore was an actual Bear song.
Because the Bends, I mean, in fact, Spy kind of fits in with the Bends.
That's right.
Like the vibe of things. Yeah, would have been, but it seems more of a complete thing in a lot of ways. So I don't know. Maybe it'll see the light of day at some point. But it always was. Yeah, it sounded really cool. Yeah. But Cold Sore, then, but I guess there's also like, what was that period that there was like we were going to record some covers in like a proper studio, Danny, that like, wasn't there some sessions that were begun and then a certain somebody wasn't really happy about
actually the master tapes of those were just found about 2 months ago. My friend Mark Capel's place. He has actually held on to them for years. I can't believe that's a good friend, man. Like he actually held on to this up 2-inch tapes. It's like, I can't remember how many, 5 or 6 songs of mostly covers that we did in that kind of Disco Volante era, recorded 2 years later at
Jerry Reed
at Brilliant Studio, same place we did Disco Volante.
Were you planning to do some covers?
Covers? So we were all there for it. Bear, were you there for those sessions? I guess it's because they were the basic tracks. So like the fact that Mike and Trey were just doing scratch vocal and guitar anyway. So you probably weren't there for
I don't think I was. Yeah, I'm probably not there.
Because we figured we'd finish them someday. still could because everything's been retrieved. Yeah, it's great. There's
That's
all
wild.
like, I can't remember Siege, whatever, because Siege is one of the names. Some cover by Siege.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, it's
Jerry
like
Reed.
Jerry Reed song. This kind of Latin thing that actually I remember sending the tracks to Mike like 15 or 20 years ago. Like said, hey, he asked about it, like, do you have any of that stuff that we did? Because there was this Latin stuff that Mike, it was sort of his idea anyway. It wasn't a cover. Just me, him, and Willie kind of doing this Latin percussion thing. And I found the tracks because I had them on. No, it was this kind of unrelated thing, just this idea that Mike had. We just sort of played this thing. And I found it because I'm the only one I still have them on a hard drive, like one of those giant LaCie hard drives somewhere. Don't know if it'll ever turn on again. But yeah, anyway, sent those to Mike and he used them and used them on a soundtrack in, I don't know, around 2010. I can't remember what film it was on, but he used it for
1914 or whatever
I actually never found out what it was. Well, it was a Latin thing, so I'm not sure like if that tells you anything about what it might have been, but it was a sort of intense, like could have been like, it sounds like something you would have used in a chase scene maybe.
Okay. But they found the 2 inches is what you're saying. So now
I just called my friend Mark like because Trey and Trevor recently might have been interested in doing something with them. I might have jumped this up. I don't know for sure.
Right.
If they've been unearthed.
Yes. And they're safe. Don't know if they'll work. That's the thing. You probably know that whole idea with 2 inch, it's been sitting around for a long time. You get to the bake thing and hope everything hasn't moved around.
That's my first reaction when I talk to artists and they're like, yeah, I got all these tapes in the garage.
They're fine.
Like, oh, Jesus.
Well, man, if your cassettes are going, if a cassette does that, imagine what a 2 inch is going to do if you don't.
Yeah.
If you don't. So yeah, it'll hopefully be cared for the correct way when the time calls for. But yeah, something I if nothing else, I do have the files and they're still good. There's legitimate files, the digital ones, but of everything from those sessions. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Nice.
Wow.
So me and Trevor did our parts just like on every album. We started with those like most bands do. Trey did probably a very good scratch thing in the control room. Mike was in the bathroom doing really funny. I mean, he's peeing during one of the takes of one of the songs. In between, like you hear him taking a piss. I mean, he's clearly holding the mic into the toilet while he's doing it. So it's pretty fantastic. I think it's in a Jerry Reed song, actually.
Oh wow!
So it's like, yeah, that's probably a scratch vocal, possibly. Anyway, I think everybody is keen to the idea, at least, of doing something with them. Seems kind of wasteful not to, because it's there. Unless there's some, issue why we couldn't use them. But no, that was great. And a beautiful, brilliant studios, giant old iron foundry where we did most of Disco Volante too.
Now for California, was there demos for California? Or was that all constructed in the studio?
Yeah, there were demos. There was definitely demos. Kind of was that sort of the riff snake era, Danny, or was that Disco Volante kind of era? I wonder. It was called the riff snake thing where but yeah, there was definitely demos, cassettes that were sort of floating around of people's just sort of home recorded versions of things.
Those were the most, those were definitely the most complete, singular demos. Like one person's, Trevor would bring in. So here's my song, and he would have done the whole thing.
Oh, that's
Whereas
right.
most of the other stuff, the riff snake thing you're referring to is more like, we got these riffs, these 5-6 riffs. I wonder if we can make a song out of these.
Right.
Now it's definitely more the Disco Volante kind of thing. Whereas California was almost all the songs are already kind of finished.
That's true.
Before we even really started rehearsing them, it's like definitely Mike's stuff seemed really complete, and he was, the drums were done basically. He just said, I'd change a few things, but that wasn't really the case before that. Usually it was like, do something kind of like this and make up whatever you want. But for a lot of the songs, even like Robots, I guess, like Trey's one. Trey wouldn't normally be very particular about exactly what the drums should do, but he definitely wanted the drums to have these particular beats, So whoever's credited on those songs on California, they were really like, that was their song.
There was several years between Disco Volante and California. Was it a surprise to be doing California? Was there a time where you weren't sure if there was going to be an album number 3?
It was a pretty big gap for the previous two as well, but it was almost always blaming Faith No More with their stupid success. No, I mean that's the main reason why we were waiting. It wasn't because we don't have any material. I mean, it's also we didn't have enough time to get together and really work on it together. There was a little bit of a tension moment. I mean, even going back to the Theo thing, with Theo getting kind of removed from the band and Secret Chiefs becoming like a legitimate band in that same gap between those two albums, and there being a bit of turmoil amongst a few people in the band during that time. And there was a lot.
I remember Mike would come off tour or whatever he was doing, and then suddenly Secret Chiefs was going off somewhere, and that was when Trevor was still playing, or initially was playing with Secret Chiefs. So it seemed like a version of Mr. Bungle was going to tour in Australia, and Patton wasn't really happy because it's like he was suddenly available. But you have to understand, we had spent seemingly most of the time kind of waiting around.
I mean, it was hard because it wasn't like Mike would do all this like, okay, I'm back, guys, let's go. It wasn't really like that. He wasn't like, come on, like expecting everybody to be ready for him. It wasn't. Sorry, I'm not trying to make it sound like that's what Bear was saying, but it wasn't like that. It was sort of, maybe we hadn't expressed to him, that like, oh, we're going to be busy, or, I had a couple bands going. We all had other things happening too. But yeah, there's a few things that happened in that particular 3 or 4 year gap that could have made it impossible to have another album. But once we started on it, it was clear that like, well, yeah, this is obviously going to happen because it's already sounding, most of these songs are already complete before we even really get to work on them. I mean, they all changed. It's not like they stayed the same. Some stuff was changed in the studio, as usually would happen, but most of the songs were pretty well composed, like from the get-go with that. But also, Bear, you had a couple songs that were coupled with
Mike, like right? Goodbye Sober Day and then Air Conditioned. Mike, like they kind of found their way.
There were gaps, right? And so they weren't. It's not like every song was complete, but those were two that weren't, right?
Right. Yeah.
Was there a point in time where it was just shared, like, okay, this project is over or it's on ice? Was there a discussion that it was done?
There was never.
This interview's over. No,
not around. Not like a round table. You mean like where we all let's have a band meeting?
Yeah, guys got some news.
Nope. It was one day. I think it was within a week or two of my daughter being born. I was like, man, I got enough shit to like, whatever. Okay, band's done. Great. Okay, real life now.
Was it?
So for me, it was like, I don't give a shit really at this point. Like I've got a fucking kid coming like any day now. So it was like, it's could be a drag down the way, but I'm.
You mean the 2004
the email exchange? Yes.
Yeah. So it sort of petered out unceremoniously in a way. Nate,
but it was one day. It was one email exchange, and I remember looking back like, what happened? Like, what just happened here? Yeah. Like, what? 20 minutes ago? Like, what?
So you guys were already in Australia. You guys were already in Australia with it.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. 2004, August 2004. So, it was sort of what decided. And then Workman, the manager, he was the one who said, "All right, you guys are idiots. I'm done." And he just said, "I'm done." And when he said, "I'm done," nobody else really said that. But it was like, from that point, it just had a really steady petering out. Draining. Yeah, but not like a definite. I mean, there might have been a few interviews here or there where somebody said, "So you guys still a band?" Like 5 years later, like, and whoever, Trevor, Mike, one of us, who knows, would have said, "Yeah, actually, yeah, we're done."
Yeah.
Without conferring with anybody else. It always did seem like there was, at any given time, there's always at least 2 out of the 5 of us that were like, come on, we should keep doing something. It seemed like there was always like 40% that were ready to keep going in some way. Early on, not right away, but within the first few years, I was still like, we should do something. There's no reason to just not play. Like, it's been a couple years. We should we always had a few years off anyway. This wouldn't be that weird. But
exactly.
By about the 10th year off, I was like, okay, we're done. Like, we did enough. Like it was never meant to be some lifelong band anyway.
Are you surprised at the attention that those 3 albums?
Yes.
Get? Yeah.
Yes. I mean, it's incredible when people talk about, especially Disco Volante. Like, yeah, it was the best album, but when people talk about it, like, well, some people hate it. I forget that these 2 guys that did this, one of those reaction videos, like, okay, put it on. I put this on, and they, the reaction thing of them like listening.
Oh, was that the one where they did the asses on fire?
My ass on fire. Those 2 guys, and like, oh man, don't stop it. Just please get through it. Like, like, yeah, I get it, you guys. Like, I totally get it.
The redundant thing at the end. They're like, what?
Oh, I can't believe they made it. I can't believe they made it all the way through. I don't even know if they
that's always that's always the thing I say to people. I'm like, even if I'm trying to like introduce a coworker to my story or my history or something, I'm like, yeah, it's a love-hate thing. Like, people either love it and they're so into it, or they hate it. They're absolutely and it's just there's no in between, seemingly. Yeah.
I always thought Disco Volante, especially with the opening song, all people I went to high school with are dead. That, to me, that's like a fortress wall. If you get over that,
totally,
then,
it's the drawbridge, right?
Yeah.
You made it in. You made it in.
It's the litmus. Like, can you get past it? Yeah, because it's funny. I remember even like our old mate Smelly there, Danny, when he said, like, what did he? Even when the first album came out, he's like, once again, you've made something that's completely unlistenable.
and that's exactly when you hear,
or something.
Yeah. But that's the kind of thing when you hear some people say that sort of thing. It's like, so how is it that some people think it's one of the most phenomenal records ever made? It's like, yeah, there's some really, really great moments on it, and I guess just the idea that it is like there probably never will be another album like that. But there are, I think just because it was all analog, mostly, almost entirely analog, and the amount of time spent, and there's a lot of time spent on the mix, and that was a nightmare at times. All the ADAT. Do you know anything about the ADAT SMPTE issues that happened on Disco Volante? Oh my god! Oh, well, I guess look up SMPTE Trace Bruins.
Standard. Was it so? SMPTE's kind of the time for people listening. It's the time code that essentially syncs up the instrumentation with the tape.
Exactly. So syncing up like a digital format like ADAT to the 2-inch, and somebody didn't print the SMPTE correctly or something.
I think ADAT's had a problem with SMPTE. That was one of the differences between ADAT, the Alesis, and the Tascam version of the.
I think we had the Alesis. Yeah.
The Alesis ones had kind of a shitty SMPTE track record, as I recall.
Well, yeah, you're probably right, because I'm pretty sure we had the Alesis. I remember that logo.
Okay, so the SMPTE, so it didn't sync. Therefore,
it got figured out, but it was like hours, days probably spent in the studio just resyncing and retiming. That was all Trey and Billy Anderson. Like, who knows how much time those 2 guys spent
sweating profusely because you don't know if you're going to be able to.
They could have given up on all this, and it's like, we're going to have to redo all this shit. Most people would have done that. Just said, guys, we're not starting over, but starting over with the digital stuff.
Right.
So yeah, those guys, that was a battle. Like, I was there for a couple of those sessions, and there was nothing to do except sit around and hope that it's working. I think it was in real time. I think that's why it took so long. Mm-hmm. And just like, oh god, I was like, I'm gonna get a cup of coffee. Like, that's why, like, that line. That's the kind of time like that. That's why that line is kind of forever. But yeah, that was those guys stuck that out. That was. Mm-hmm. That was some brave soldiering on right there. That's insane.
So when the Thrash Bungle reunion happened a few years ago, was there a conversation? Did they send you a note, say, guys, guess what? This is coming up. Just wanted to give you a heads up. Were you given a fair warning about it?
They're like, surprise. No. No, there was definitely like a little heads up of like a strategy. Yeah.
Not really for how soon they announced it afterwards. I found out about a week before they announced it. It's like there wasn't a lot. I didn't, but you also, I think, Barry, you knew more about it. There was a little bit of social media discussion, or maybe you were just in more communication with those guys than I was at the time. But I remember it was like, I guess like, no, but like
no,
honestly,
you know,
like, let me finish, Mr. McKinnon. No, I just the thing about me, like, there's no reason I could actually be offended in any way by that. It just would have been nice to know a little bit more ahead of time, but didn't matter in the end. But truth be told, how the hell would I have done that? I cannot drum like that. It is not my thing. I would have been
not with that attitude.
Absolutely. No, I would have absolutely failed. Like, I can't play double kicks and even that energy, whatever. I mean, it's like that they did it the right way. But at the time when it first happened, I was like, thanks guys. Fuck. It felt really shitty. But then when I thought about it, it's like, well, what am I thinking? Like, I couldn't have done that. And it's cool. They're reliving their youth, basically, in a way, really. It's good they did that, rediscovered it and re-recorded it, all that.
I've shared this before with you, Bear. You know, the solo work that you've done, the Umlaut, and the records, not only the 45, but the album, I really enjoy it. To me, that has a lot of the spirit of the early Bungle for me, right? It's kind of condensed, and a lot of the joyfulness, the mirth of the original Bungle, which I absolutely love, I think is in a lot of the work that you've been doing. And I was really surprised, both you guys living on the same continent for damn near 20 years, really haven't played together that much until recently. What made
most of that was because I was in Sydney, and I actually didn't come here that often. I mean, we saw each other a few times every couple of years. That was probably the main reason why we didn't like play together, because it was pointless to try to make it a regular thing.
Right.
Yeah, but it was also prior to trying to just share. Like, I mean, I guess honestly, from my side of it, I just didn't want to bother Danny with like, hey, play these drums for this thing, you know, like kind of thing.
Well, don't bother me with this fucking music bullshit.
No,
it was I am.
Well, even like the drums that you played for the High Castle Till Orchestra thing, it was sort of an experiment, and then sort of I'm just a late bloomer with things. I'm you know, and even like that, like you mentioned, Nate, the maybe the second Umlaut like record, which was put out on vinyl. It's like all these things, and my composition kind of stuff was like I'm still sort of like coming into it. I'm sort of still figuring it out, and I feel like I still a lot to do, and I was like people have mentioned that, like, oh yeah, it sort of harkens back to this Bungle stuff, and I go, it's definitely in the DNA of it. Like, I'm trying to, and I was so influenced by everybody in that band, and then bringing my music to life. So it was like and then even the first Umlaut thing was like me writing music, which I, you know, in my heart of hearts, I would have loved to go towards like another Mr. Bungle kind of like thing, you know. And then, but we were able to get Mike to sing on that Atlas Face song. But, you know, and so that was kind of a real win, or a fluke, or a unicorn moment, or whatever. But it was like, but I'm definitely a late bloomer, where it was like I wasn't fully kind of coming into my own as a composer, if you will, until like I was here in Australia, like raising my two kids with my then wife, you know. So it's like it's just a funny thing. And then like, and even now when I think of like getting Danny to play with Umlaut now, it's just like, you know, I made a joke the other day, or I heard in another interview where I was saying like it only took him 20 years to get to Melbourne kind of thing. But you know, but it is kind of a rare and amazing thing, and I still kind of pinch myself going, wait, Danny just lives locally now? It's so insane, you know. And again, it's sort of a thing, like I don't really have a good answer for like why I haven't done more music with Danny while he's been here, but I also know that he's been busy with stuff in Sydney, and it's a weird thing. I don't really have a good answer for. I feel like because ultimately there's like a respect thing where I wouldn't want to I wouldn't be like, oh, come on, man, just because, you know, this thing, it feels a little ingrained. Yeah,
I know, but part of it too is like, and I don't know, we probably both feel this a little bit, that sort of self-conscious thing of like, we don't want to make it too much like a Bungle side project thing just because two of the guys from the band are in it, you know?
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, that's part of, you know, maybe my excuse why not to do it. But anyway, it's a pleasure now.
Yeah.
It's good.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's great. It's great fun because
I did say I was really nervous to do this. Like I didn't even want it. It's like we played a show together like a year ago, and I was with Franklin's Mint, and Umlaut opened, and we're watching you guys. I'm like, I can't play this. Like I wouldn't be able to figure these songs out. It's too complicated. So I was actually, when he asked me to be, it's like, I mean, I could. I don't know if I'm going to be able to pull it off. So yeah, it wasn't just that referential or anything. It was more like, I don't know if I'm capable of that.
Well, yeah, there was a little bit of a there's a little bit of a confidence thing where you weren't sure if but I know that you can and could and
no, but also it's like I'm thinking more like, okay, now actually I get it because I'm now inside of your head the way I knew your head worked, with your songs with Bungle stuff. So now it makes perfect sense. I think I just wasn't getting the perspective right, I guess.
Right. No, that's cool.
So you've got the song Every Time. People can hear it at umlautbearmckinnon.bandcamp.com. It's a single song. There's an album mix, which gives me great hope that there is an album. It's going to be part of a larger body of work. Am I reading that right? Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. We're sort of still kind of finishing the mixes and stuff. But we've got a lot of it. We've got a lot of them done. We've got like 3 or 4, and I think there's like 8 or 9 songs. So it's like, yeah, we're really excited for this. And in fact, I was just thinking about it today, how I know this is sort of a singles kind of world in a way with and maybe that's the streaming services where they're like, you see this, like if it's Bjork or whoever, they'll release like a song a month or some kind of thing. And even like Trevor's Seances album, I think he was doing something like that, where he would release like a track every month or maybe every 2 weeks kind of thing. And then they drop the album kind of thing. So I don't know if that's how we're going to go with these other songs for this next Umlaut thing. But yeah, I am really excited to sort of share this because the way Danny plays the drums, it's like you can hear that Bungle DNA, you can hear that like that groove, and even when we're on stage and we're going sort of full tilt, and it gets exciting hearing that or standing in front of that in a venue like as a rock kind of setting in a way because it just makes me feel like it's this Bungle thing. It just really I just like, oh yeah, this is what I've been wanting to do for a long time. So yeah, we'll see.
It's also got Angus on it, and I am a huge fan of Angus. He is absolutely hilarious. And people listening, the band Sex on Toast, and what a great performer as well. So I could hear. Yeah, you get the. We'll call it Bungle DNA for lack of a better term, but I mean, sure. You get Angus in there, you get his sensibilities. It kind of twists it into a different direction, and
definitely.
Again, just hearing that song every time, it's like, oh boy, I can't wait for the rest of this. So, do you have a name? Oh, go ahead.
Oh no, sorry. Continue on. I was just going to wait till you hear what he does with his new voice box. So it's pretty
okay.
His new toy. Oh, it's phenomenal. Blows Peter Frampton away.
Do you have a name for the album? Is it any?
No, that's in fact. It was funny because I was meaning to talk to Danny about this actually, because we were sort of we sort of joke around about album title names, and I know that Danny is always really good with this kind of stuff, and so yeah, we'll see. I because there's a song on the album or whatever. There's a song called Grumpy Library or Grumpy Library. I'm not sure how it'll be spelled, but and so Angus was sort of going like, oh, that might be a good name for the album, but I was just like, yeah, maybe. But we still have yet to ask Danny, so now Danny knows that he's
what, like you need my approval for your album title.
No,
I appreciate that, but it's like
no, it's like it's kind of like the way you inadvertently you wrote a verse in Grumpy Library, where it's just you have good ideas, like just whether they're linguistic tricks or a mishearing of a phrase or a reinterpretation,
which I'm really good at doing.
I remember you writing the lyrics for Cold Sore actually,
what?
And it was like you like there's the ones that were finished that Mike sang and whatever, but it was like the phonetic version probably. Yeah, like the phonetic version, and then you're just sort of like, this is what it sounds like you're saying, and then like those are always better.
Well, the sad thing is that's how I hear every lyric, and that's why I'm so dumb when it comes to music, because there's these brilliant lyrics written in bands that I've been in, and I still to this day have no idea what some of the actual lyrics and the actual story of the song is, and I hear them phonetically, and Yeah, I did that when we were mixing Disco Volante. I did a whole, legal pad of paper of all the songs
wow.
as they sounded, intentionally getting some words wrong just to make them
yeah
funny,
So this is a thing. It's not just a single. You guys are. This band is putting together a project. Are there going to be shows perhaps outside of Melbourne?
Well, we hope so. Yeah. Again, it's like as you were saying that sentence, Nate, my gut was to like, don't stress Danny out with like these commitments. Part of my brain said that, but also like in a perfect world, I would love to take this band on some kind of tour or go places like that. It's like and again, I was mentioning in some other interview where I feel like there's a little bit of like a scarcity mindset with the band where it's just like, I'm like, like I'm not thinking bigger with it, or I don't know, just being a bit of a baby about it or something, or just not that motivated. But we don't, we're not that. We're still kind of this expensive sort of hobby at the moment. But hopefully, like even as far as like or if we release it with a label or not is sort of still a little bit in the sort of it's a work in progress. But I would hope to, like, in a perfect world, it's because I think we could travel with it, and it's like as a 4-piece, I think we could do pretty well still.
I'm just thinking, because I recorded, I don't know however many tracks there were, 8 or 9, like you said, but like enough for an album. But it's stuff like, but Cupboard is on the stuff that, like the last stuff you did before I started playing. Are those songs on an album? Or I know they're on a single, but are they on an album?
That's going to be part of this album.
Yeah, so there's others. Yeah, that's the other thing. Yeah. There's it's definitely enough then. I mean, the fact that there's probably already enough, and then there's, songs that could actually be shelved till the next one. So there's an album worth, and I think if I wasn't such a fucking perfectionist, would have been done 6 months ago. Because
I know that's the thing. It's like people are asking me.
That's obviously a good thing.
And they're like,
too.
"What?" They're like, "What's like you got done thing?" And I'm like, yeah, hopefully, the next few months, because I feel like in my heart, I feel like it's just a matter of just like, because all the tracking's done. It's like there's nothing really to kind of like worry about or stress over or get perfectionistic about or whatever. I feel like it's just a matter of just let's just mix them, get the final mixes done, and then just put it out. Because honestly, I would really prefer to put it out as an album instead of just these kind of, what do you call, teasing out these singles. And because there's something. I mean, I guess if it's going to be released to a whimper, I'd want the whole album to be released to a whimper.
A full whimper. Yeah.
And so people be like, so they can be like, so, yeah.
Can I ask Nate's next question? Would you be releasing it on vinyl? Other that be your next question?
I'm assuming it absolutely.
Yeah, it would have to be. Yeah.
What? So you guys have any other gigs coming up? You gonna? Because
no, with nothing
enough notice, I will fly down. If you're not coming to Sydney, then I'm going to have.
Well, I mean, I'm sure we'll come up there, right?
Or whatever. We'll get up there.
You'll come up there and bring me with you, I should say.
Crash on the couch. You're more than welcome to the four of you.
Thanks. No, that's awesome. Yeah, we'll definitely get something happening. We'll definitely do some more shows. Nothing sort of to announce just yet, but thanks so much, Nate. This has been great.
No worries, guys.
Yeah, thanks. It's great. You've made us, definitely me. I'm sure both of us sort of remember things that we hadn't thought about forever. So it's great. Good.
Good.
Good memory jog. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And then we got to keep the momentum going with us, and then also start thinking about what kind of vinyl and how we're going to be doing that for this thing as well. So good stuff.
So good.
Awesome.
That vinyl's healthy again, and you're playing a role in it. It's fantastic. Thanks for doing it.
It was totally by accident. It was totally by I just happened to get interested in records, and I started this thing, and all of a sudden I just fucking dumb luck. So it's
but are there a good number of record stores there? Because there's just so many.
There's more in Melbourne.
So you're gonna have to do a little trip down here and do a little bit of shopping.
Yeah, that's what I do. I generally go down there and I go to Brunswick. Just there's about 5 within a square block.
Yeah, but even thrift stores are actually can do pretty, better than, probably.
Northside Records is probably one of my favorite shops in.
In right. Yeah.
That's a great spot.
That's great.
Well, I'll send you guys a note next time I'm down. I'm heading down. I'd love to connect with you in real life and Maybe if there's
Definitely.
a gig or something like that, we can let me know when you guys are playing a gig, and I'll see if I can align a trip down there one time.
100%. And we'll have to come up there too.
All right, fellas.
Cool, man.
Thanks so much, man.
Take care.
Thanks
We'll chat soon.
again. All right. See you, Bear.
All right, see you, Danny. See you, Nate.
Bye.
See ya.
Yeah.
Oh man, that was really fun. Hope you all enjoyed that. That was a great evening. And by the way, that conversation, I'm only sharing like an hour of that conversation here. There's a full other hour available only to show supporters at patreon.com/vinyl guide. Help support this show. If you like this show or you at least want to buy me a coffee or a taco, head over there now, patreon.com/vinyl guide. It's a huge help for us to keep the show going, and you get tons of extra stuff, including an extra hour of this conversation. It's also commercial free and high resolution. Lots more info, factoids, and bungle talk. Patreon.com/vinyl guide. And thank you so much in advance for your support. And that's it for this episode of the Vinyl Guide. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please share these episodes on social media. Put them on your Facebook feed or tweet them out on Twitter. Drop them in a Reddit forum or a Facebook group, or just spray paint it on a wall somewhere. Well, not in my neighborhood, please, but, other places where people actually listen to podcasts. That is hugely helpful. And we'll be back shortly with a brand new episode. So until we talk next time, get out there and buy some records, people. Cheers.
That's it for this episode of The Vinyl Guide. Send your thoughts to Nate at thevinylguide.com or follow or tag us on Instagram at Vinyl Guide. Until next time, keep spinning.